I'm Tom.
Christy. Amanda.
And here doing our reflection on week 2. Go ahead, if you want to start, Amanda.
My philosophy of giftedness is kind of disjointed, I guess, at this point, because I haven't learned enough yet to really have a really focused philosophy. But I think, the gifted learner is a very analytical thinker, that they are a puzzler, that they're a solver, but I agree that they're not always the perfectly behaved. In fact, a lot of times they can be really misbehaving because as a gifted learner, I was a problem in classes because I was bored to death, so I just created entertainment for myself.
Same here. I know when I was a kid, especially in high school, I would sit there and I would make football plays all day. I would sit there, and it was because I was bored. Like all I wanted to do was just sit around and do football plays because whatever material we were doing, I knew what we were doing.
Right.
I knew it, and it was like, why am I sitting here? So I sat there and I had literally a whole composition notebook of nothing but football plays for my 8th and 9th grade year.
But at the same time, I think a gifted learner isn't always a high scorer because, I found other things to do. I love to read, and I would read the whole time. I started bawling in the middle of my math class. I'll never forget. And my teacher was like, "What's wrong? What happened?" I was reading the end of Where the Red Fern Grows. But I didn't get A's in math because I didn't see anything at all, but when I did pay attention, I didn't find any meaning in the learning because I was like, this is ridiculous, and then I get to the point where I was so far behind, I couldn't put it all together, so I just kind of didn't care.
Yeah, I was far from a 4.0 student myself. I mean,
no,
I think I hovered at around 3.0, but when I did my SATs, remember this is the old SAT, so a little while ago, and my SATs were in the 1300s. So I mean, I had that here, and my test scores and all that were were through the roof. Just I was such a lazy slacker. I would never do homework. I mean, homework. You had to pull teeth for me to do homework because I was like, why am I doing this homework? It's a waste of my time because I've already done this. I already know what I'm doing.
I got a C in a class because I never did homework.
So I would think my philosophy is probably a little bit disjointed as well. I think that, like you, there are different ways of expressing giftedness, and I think children may be gifted in one area and not in another, or they just may not be able to make the connection between those areas that really interest them and the areas that don't interest them. So there may be an aptitude there that's just not expressed because they aren't able to put those things together, whether it's creatively or verbally, and definitely the behavior is not necessarily lining up with what people think it should, because unlike you two slackers or misbehaviors, I never misbehaved, ever. I never got my name on the board. I never had a call home. I never saw anyone regarding discipline. I would just write. I liked to read and to write. So when the teacher was giving things that I didn't find interesting, I might have looked as if I were paying attention, but I wasn't. I would write. I would write my own thing, and then I would hand in what they were looking for. So I think part of that is the gifted learner may look different from child to child to child, and I think my philosophy probably.
I always worry about how I looked as a gifted learner because this is a little known fact about me is that I'm ADD, not the H. So part of it is my attention span. If I don't care, I'm not going to learn it. And
I was ADD too. I was never diagnosed ADD, but I know it was because I would be like, okay, I'm listening, and then I'm over here, looking at the wall. There it is. I probably drove half my teachers bonkers because when I was paying attention, I would question them. I'd be like, hey, what about this? What about this? What about this? I think they liked it sometimes when I was staring out into space or looking around in the room because then I wasn't bugging them and getting them all crazy and wild up because I was asking questions. And I mean, the problem is there is no such thing as a bad question.
No, and that's my problem as like an adult learner, because my ADD as a child, I'm just off in space, I'm sitting at my desk, but now my hand is always in the air because that's how I make sure I'm engaged, because I'm not medicated and I don't need that, but unlike you, my tests weren't ever that high because of my ADD and my gifted together. I'm like, this is easy, and I'd go through it and not process questions.
Yeah.
But my aptitude scores were out through the roof because my mom got me tested by a private tester.
Yeah.
And so the school tested me for giftedness, but then my mom tested me for ADD, and because my mom is a mentor, she's a behavior specialist, or she was before she was a teacher, and I told you guys, I always scored low in math. My math scores were through the roof.
Wow.
My language scores were high, but my math was like 6 times higher. But I didn't care about it. I didn't care about it.
My philosophy of giftedness is kind of like these two. It's very disjointed still. I mean, like, in some ways I do feel like, it's very important, like, to have like a set guidelines. But every kid is different. So, like, I mean, I remember there's one kid when I was student teaching, and they showed me this one kid, and this kid was like, I mean, he was everybody thought he was a total slacker, and it wasn't the fact he was a slacker. Like everybody would like draw like stuff. Everybody when they would ask somebody to draw something, everybody would draw like exactly what this is. Then this kid would like draw something that's like roundabout thing, but also it gets to the right conclusion. And it was like, wow. This is an 8-year-old doing this? It's surprising. It's like it amazes me, like the way some kids think.
Mm-hmm. And at the same time, I think because, and I guess correct me if I'm wrong, but I guess I'll speak for myself. Because I am a gifted learner, those stereotypes that we talked about, I don't really see that because I've always been the gifted learner and the bright learner. But I guess it took me a long time, since I have a lot of male friends who are gifted. One day they asked me what my IQ score was, and anyway, my friend's was 1 point above mine, and he looked at me and goes, "Oh my goodness, I really thought yours would be way higher than mine. You're so smart." And I looked at him and I was like, "Really? You think I'm smart?" I never thought that my friends saw that in me because I was such a low performer in school. Well, low. I mean, my GPA was a 3.5, but low as far as all my other friends were straight A students. Right. So those stereotypes surprised me when we talked about them in class and when we saw them, when we read about them, because I was like, oh, I never thought that all of the gifted kids are portrayed as like white nerdy boys. I don't think of them as being gifted. I just thought of them as being nerdy and the kids who study all the time. I didn't think that.
Yeah.
How did you guys feel about the stereotypes compared to your philosophy?
When I went to school, I was in an inclusion program, so it was only gifted learners, although it was very small. It was probably the same 12 kids all through, from 8th grade through 12th grade, although I did have contact with the others, which one of my teachers called them the potted plant. I know. I hate to even say it out loud and repeat it, but she would refer to the non-gifted learners as the potted plant students because there was no interest, no wanting. But even within the inclusion, being with other gifted learners, I still saw the apathy, the disinterest. I did see the high level interest and the overachievers, the perfectionists, but not, the glasses and the pocket protector. And
my friends didn't look like that.
They didn't look like
that. Oh my God, I was. If you look at stereotypical nerd, stereotypical like gifted kid, it was me. I had the thick glasses. I had like I wore the button-down shirts and I did have a pocket protector. Oh my God, I reeked of nerd, and I mean I had like the hair like slicked back. I mean, and I had these big wire-rimmed glasses. It was I looked like the stereotypical nerdy kid. And you know, it's just what I was. I mean, I was that. I was the nerdy kid.
But did you think of gifted learners as that, as what you were?
No, because it was. I mean, we had kids. I was when I was in school. They had what we call tracking.
Mm-hmm.
So like I mean, all the upper kids we were all in the same class, and all the lower kids were in the same class, and all the kids, the middle kids were in the same classes.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I mean, I was with all the other gifted. I was with all the other gifted, even though I wasn't technically gifted, thanks to you know the whole I can't write thing. But the what was I looking to say? Oh, but I mean, I know. I mean, we came in all shapes and sizes. We were like, you know, we had like
Just like everybody else.
Right.
we had African American, Native American. I think there was at least one or two Native Americans. We had Asians, whites. I mean, we were like nerdy kids like me, athletes, everything. We had the whole spectrum.
Yeah, my school, we were really, in high school, very, very competitive with our grades. And I never thought that the boys were gifted and girls weren't. Like the boy, because our valedictorian and salutatorian were both girls. And, yeah, little Miss Rita, 5.18. I don't even know how you got that.
That's all.
But I was like, I was tracked. We were always in honors with the same people. The people I sat next to in graduation, I had never met before in my life. Never.
Yeah.
I had no idea who they were. I mean, I was in a school of 500. We had 500 at my graduation. 380 at my graduation. I don't know, something ridiculous.
Well, I knew all the kids that I was with. I mean, I went through the Fredericksburg City school system, and we only had a class of 99.
Right.
So I mean, I knew all just from like you know just because we were a pretty tight knit bunch.
Right.
But I mean, as far as like the sitting in classes, I was in the same class with the same people like all the way from like second grade.
Right.
I mean, I mean from second grade on, I lived with the same people because they were all in the same classes.
Right, and just like my high school, this is what really put me back, is they started getting rid of honors classes, and you could either do regular or AP to help our AYP scores. And that's when I was like, forget, because everybody knew AYP was the exact same as honors, taught by the exact same teachers, you just had more work. It was overload work.
Yeah.
And so I never thought those kids were smart. I just thought, oh, they do homework all the time. They don't have a social life. Like, I didn't want to be doing home and studying for hours and hours.
I hear that.
And I could be out perusing the town with my friends. And
you're a teenager. It's what.
I mean, that's how I feel now. I don't want to do 25 hours of work and get no end result. But the good thing about being in a master's program is the stuff that we're learning is stuff I'm invested in. Unlike me sitting there doing like 35 algebra equations. I don't want to do that. I feel like it's busy work and it's not worth my while.
All right, we're going to go ahead and stop right here. We'll meet you back in week 3.
Bye.